Chapter 1. Something woke Kate Merritt. Her eyes flew open, and her heart began to thump in her ears. She couldn't see a thing. Not even a hint of moonlight was filtering through the lace curtains at the bedroom window. The dark night wrapped around her like a thick blanket, as she stared up toward her bedroom ceiling and fervently hoped it was nothing but a bad dream shaking her awake. Next to Kate, Evie's breath was whisper quiet. Her sister obviously hadn't heard whatever it was that had jerked Kate from sleep. Slowly, Kate's eyes began adjusting to the darkness, but she didn't need to see to know how Evie's red hair would be spread around her head like a halo, or that even in sleep she'd have a death grip on the top sheet so Kate couldn't pull it off her. Kate always woke up every day with her pillow on the floor and her hair sticking out in all directions. The total opposite of Evie, who got up with barely a rumple in her nightgown. Just a couple of mornings ago, their mother had laughed as she smoothed down Kate's tangled dark brown hair. "Don't you worry about not being as ladylike as Evangeline. Your sister's going on 17. When you get older, you'll be more like her." Kate jerked away from her mother. "Like Evie? I don't have to be, do I? That would be awful, really awful," she said before she thought. Kate was always doing that, saying things before she thought. But she didn't want to be like Evie, ever. Evie wouldn't climb trees or catch frogs down at the creek. She even claimed to prefer reading inside by the oil lamp instead of playing hide-and-seek after dark. The truth was, she was scared of her shadow. Evie wasn't only worried about things in the dark. Day or night she shrieked if anybody so much as mentioned Fern Lindell. True, Fern, who lived down the road, was off her rocker, but Kate wasn't a bit afraid of her. At least, not unless she was carrying around her little axe. Then anybody with any sense knew to stay away from her. One thing sure, Kate had sense. That was because she was the middle sister, and the middle sister had to learn early on to take care of herself. And not only herself. Half the time, she had to take care of Evie, too. And all the time, Tori, who turned 10 last month. In the cot across the room, Tori was breathing soft and peaceful. So Tori hadn't been what woke Kate, but something had. Kate raised her head up off her pillow and listened. The middle sister had to make sure everything was all right. Kate didn't mind. She might be only 14, but she knew things. She kept her eyes and ears open and did what had to be done. Of course, sometimes it might be better to be like Evie, who had a way of simply ignoring anything that didn't fit into her idea of how things should be, or Tori, who didn't worry about much except whether she could find enough worms to go fishing. Neither of them was holding her breath waiting to see if the bump in the night might be their father sneaking in after being out drinking. Victor Merritt learned to drink in France. At least, that's what Kate overheard Aunt Hattie telling Mama a few months back. They didn't know she heard them. She was supposed to be at school, but she'd run back home to get the history report she left on the table by the front door. Kate tiptoed across the porch and inched the door open to keep it from creaking. She aimed to grab the paper and be in and out without her mother hearing her. That way she'd only be in hot water at school, and not at home, too. They didn't know she was there. Not even Aunt Hattie, who just about always knew everything. After all, she delivered nearly every baby who'd been born in Rosie Corner since the turn of the century, 36 years ago. A lot of folks avoided Aunt Hattie unless a baby was on the way or they needed somebody to do their wash. But not Mama. She said you might not be able to depend on a lot in this world, but you could depend on Aunt Hattie telling you the truth, like it or not. That morning last spring, when Kate had crept back in the house and heard her mother and Aunt Hattie, it sounded as if Kate's mother wasn't liking a lot of things. She was crying. The sound pierced Kate and pinned her to the floor right inside the door. She hardly dared breathe.